everyone. I'm Kris Erickson. I'm a volunteer on the Westford Recycling Commission. With me here is Elizabeth Sawyer, who's also a volunteer on our commission. We're here today on a beautiful July day for a composting demonstration. And people from town have been coming by today to buy composters. So we thought we'd take a minute to step aside and talk a little bit about composting and why it's a good idea. So welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So our first question really is, why should people compost? Why should they think about doing that?
So I would say the main reason to think about composting is that it might be the next step for a household in terms of diverting waste from our trash stream. In Westford, we, through audits, know that our recycling is a really high quality response from our residents, that people recycle what's in our guide as curbside recycling, and that leads us to believe that we have a body of residents who are really trying to get as much of their household waste out of the trash stream and to these alternate places. And the next step could be diverting up to 20% of your remaining waste by composting. And it can be a pretty easy, low-cost option for those who find it a good fit.
Yeah, I often think of that next step because, as you said, we're pretty good recyclers in Westford, and people separate their recycling out of their trash. They do a good job. But for somebody who might be thinking, what more can I do? What is the next thing? It would be composting, because that compost is heavy, right? You think about compost as the truck goes by. You're making your salads, on your kitchen counter. You've got your vegetable clippings. You've got your coffee grounds. All this stuff is wet. You put that in the trash. Our trash is weighed, and the town pays for that. Plus, there's no reason for that to go to the incinerator in Haverhill to be burned. It's organic waste, and there's a better destination for it than that, right? And that's the compost bin. So let's talk a little bit about how difficult it is. I know people are super busy. I know I am. And people might think, another thing on my schedule, something to do, something that's going to take my time. How difficult is it to get going and continue the process?
Well, there are a few ways you can compost. Some families who feel extremely busy and have the budget for it choose to have a curbside pickup service come and collect at the curb. And a bucket is set out at the frequency defined by the company, and it's picked up. An economical option could be a backyard composter. For a one-time purchase of $25, an earth machine, which is one of the composters that the state promotes in particular, and that Westford's able to buy at a discounted rate, and then we further discount with some of the funds we earn from grants due to our recycling practices, can last over a decade. My backyard composter's 12, and I still see the one in our first home in use, and that's been at least 20 years. So $25 over many years is a couple dollars a year. And it can be as much effort or as little effort as is a fit for the family. I'm a passive composter. My motivation is to divert that kitchen waste. I'm not trying to make the richest, best compost. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I just dump in my food waste. And I only turn it or think about turning it if I have a reason to. For gardeners who want very rich compost, there are things you can do to make it compost faster. You can turn it. You can balance the green and the brown. I don't do any of that. I just dump in my waste, and nature takes care of it. And if it starts to get full, and it takes many years to get full, I open the bottom and I scoop out some and I throw it into the woods. I don't even work with the compost. My goals are just to divert that kitchen waste.
But for the gardeners out there, they can open that little door, and I've just heard it called black gold, because what comes out, there may be a few eggshells in it, The eggshells don't break down, but that's fine. You can take that and make your plants very happy by adding some to your pots or in your garden. Some people, I've heard, have a concern that critters are going to get in their composter. We see online, we see on Facebook that bears visit Westford sometimes. Once or twice, a bear is roaming through town, and people are thinking, if I put out this compost in my yard, is that going to attract a bear or some other creature that I don't want? What would you think about that, Elizabeth?
So in terms of critters, my experience has been the critters that you want to have in your composter. It's the set of critters that are nature's decomposers, the worms that come in through the base, some of the fly-ins that visit and help break down the food. It is designed to repel critters. The recommendations are to put out the type of material that is appropriate for backyard composting. And so there are some exclusions. There's no meat. You really want it to be vegetable matter. Eggshells are the one exception to anything that would be an animal product, but you want to keep the things that are far more likely to cause any trouble by attracting unwanted critters out. But that leaves so much capacity for what can go in. The coffee grinds, all the vegetable matter, brown paper bags. There's a whole list online of what goes in the backyard composter, and it adds up to a lot of weight. There are steps people can take. Where it's placed could be thoughtful. We placed ours in a spot that we knew we'd always go to it. It is by our shed, which puts it some distance back from our house, but easy to get to, and right next to where we keep our snow thrower. So we always have a path to the composter in the winter without any extra effort. And there are steps people can take who want to be very thoughtful about balancing green and brown to make sure that it's not too wet, which is when it can smell. I just go back to my own experience with just being a kitchen waste dumper, and it tends to be very wet and gooey and still not smell.
Well, hopefully after listening to our sales pitch here, we have a few more residents in town who are thinking this could be a good idea for me. So why don't we recap by talking about how they can get an earth machine. Again, the earth machine is recommended by Mass DEP. It's sold by the Recycling Commission at a discount. We use grant funds to reduce the cost for residents, and we're able to sell them at $25, which is a pretty good price. And we do have several composting demos, like the one behind us that's going on today, set up for the summer. So you can check our website if you want to come by and just see one, or buy one, or find out more about it. And then year-round, you can go on our website. You can go to the Westford town site, and right down the left-hand side is a link for trash and recycling, and that brings you to the Westford Recycling site. And look for, want to compost? Buy your earth machine. So we'd encourage you to do it because, as we said, this is the next step. This is something we can always all do to help. There's such a focus on the environment. Landfills are filling up. Incinerator fees are going up. And we just all have to take the steps we can to do better and produce less waste. So do you agree, Elizabeth? Any final thoughts?
I do. I think it's one of the steps that can have the largest impact. So if it can work for your family, you'd really be making a difference.
Okay. Well, let us know if you have any further questions. You can email us off the Recycling Commission site and go out there and buy your earth machine and start composting.